in anticipation of your wedding, you wanted a party bus.
Yes.
She sent you a smaller bus.
That bus was in an accident.
That's a bait and switch. That's what it was. You got married, right?
Yes.
This your husband?
Yes.
Are you happy?
Yes.
Look happy.
This is Judy Justice. Nidra Hunter is suing business owner Tamika Young for a party bus refund and punitive damages.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3018, Hunter versus Young.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Hunter, you were planning your wedding,
Yes.
and the wedding was planned for what date?
October 8th, 2022.
Miss Young, what's the name of your company,
Luxury Queen and Mr. Party Bus.
and where is it located?
It's in Detroit
How long have you owned it?
since 2017.
And it's a party bus company, then you must have party buses registered in the company name. We're going to check it. How many party buses do you have registered in the company name?
Well, actually,
No, not actually. That's a question that I have for you. How many party buses do you have registered in the company name?
none.
How many party buses do you have registered in your own name?
None.
Advertise that you're a party bus company. What you do is you subcontract that out.
Yes, ma'am.
You know where I'm going, right? Do you see any advertising under the name of that company? Because that's how the plaintiff got to the defendant.
I do. I see their Facebook page. In addition, they have a website.
May I see both, please?
Sure. Facebook page.
Okay, let me see. We have the best rates, limo service. Okay. Now, is this what is on their website as their party buses? Let's take a look.
So if you go about, when you go to book now, it gives you just these options, 4 options for vehicles, and then a place to leave your message. And that's it.
Got it. So what you did was, in anticipation of your wedding, you wanted a party bus to take about 30 guests
Yes.
so that everybody was together
Yes.
for photographs to a park, whatever it is, and get you to and from the venue to the party afterwards. And you looked on the internet and you found Miss Young's company.
Correct.
Your wedding was in October. On what date did you contact Miss Young?
It was in March.
Do you have any written contract or communication with her?
Text message.
May I?
Driver.
Are you related?
Yes.
How are you related?
I'm her nephew.
How old are you?
20.
I'll get to you in a minute.
I just found something interesting. So there's a video posted by the defendant on the work page on Facebook saying prom season is approaching with a video of a large white bus that looks like it would be about 25 to 30 people. And somebody in the comments inquired and said, interested, how much for 5 hours? And the defendant says in March of 22, this bus posted is no longer available. This one being she sends a video of a different bus, is 15 to 20 passengers for 5 hours is $11.50
So in March
of 22.
of 2022, she indicated that that party bus was no longer available.
Which looks larger than the one she suggested in the comments, saying the one that was originally posted about
Do you have a
prom.
date in March?
Yeah, March 12th, 2022.
And it was the defendant saying to another party.
A different party.
Different party, that bus is no longer available.
But here's a different video of a different bus that seats 15 to 20.
Got it.
Lists the rate for that.
Okay, so, very good. Well, how come you told her the bus was available?
That bus particularly was available in March.
No, 12th, within 24 hours. So in March, when you were dealing with her and her wedding, you already told somebody that you don't have access to that bus anymore. That's what you...
That particular bus, but Your Honor, I have different types of buses.
You know what? You don't have anything, Miss Young. You don't have anything. We established that.
I have access
You
to it.
you don't have access to anything more than she has, more than I have.
I work with different companies and I am their driver.
You are a subcontractor,
Subcontractor.
and you make promises like you did to her, and then, because clearly, $950, she paid you.
Absolutely.
She paid you, and how many days before her wedding did you tell her that there was a problem with that bus? How many days before?
It was September 26th that I called and had a conversation with her. Would I have that information here that we had this conversation? that bus was no longer available because it was in an accident.
You know,
It was-
I don't like you to think that you're really dealing with somebody that's stupid. You just told me that you have access to many different companies. So if you have access to many different companies and you've contracted for a 30-passenger bus that looks like that, use one of your other contacts. Because what it was is a bait and switch. You baited her with a 30-passenger bus that she needed.
No.
3 weeks before her wedding, you say, that bus, either you told her was in an accident. According to your answer, you said it was having mechanical difficulties. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Is that correct? Well,
Mechanical accident, same thing.
no, it's not the same thing. It's not the, and you don't own the bus. It's not the same thing, and you don't own the bus.
I have access to it. I have access to it.
I'm going to tell you, madam,
bookings.
it's a bait and switch. Now you can stand up, because what happened was she sent you a smaller bus. You want a refund.
Yes.
That's the bottom line. Move over here. You have a chauffeur's license?
Yes.
Take it out. May I see it, please? Well, you didn't have a commercial driver's license in October of 2022.
I was trained to be.
I don't care what you were trying to be. Your commercial license wasn't issued until January of 2023. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm a school bus driver. I had to get that as for the drive. I had a chauffeur's license at the time when I was driving them.
Commercial bus, and you didn't have it at the time that you were driving. Okay, so first you arrived late, right?
Yes, but that was because I had the wrong address.
Who gave you the address?
It was on the itinerary.
That she gave you.
Yes.
That's the information that she gave me.
Impossible.
I promise you
Just
she
a second. Do you live in the same community?
I live in Detroit, but Detroit has different
Just
counties,
a second. Do you?
different cities. Yes.
Transportation is your business. What was the name of a hotel she was staying at?
I didn't even know it was a hotel that she
What was the name of the hotel?
I cannot remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
Holiday Inn.
Okay. Listen, I'd like to give you money for your aggravation, but you got married, right?
Yes,
You happy?
we are.
This your husband?
Yes.
Are you happy?
Yes.
Look happy. All she should say to you is, I'm sorry, because it was clearly, in my mind, a bait and switch. She baited you for a 30-passenger bus, which she did not have. She never told you she was subcontracting for that bus, did she?
No.
Of course not.
I explained to her over the phone conversations that this 15 to 20 passengers, it
never
fits
said
20,
that.
but it fits tight.
You know, it's a hustle. What your website is a hustle.
And later today,
Everything she had on her, she landed back and she paused for a moment. We all thought she was dead. We all started hollering and crying because we thought we had lost her.
Nidra Hunter claims business owner Tamika Young owes her a refund after bringing the wrong size party bus to her wedding.
Now, based upon the website, you would assume, and the photographs and the videos that are on Facebook, you would assume that your company provides buses that you own, not that you subcontract to other people. There's no question in my mind that's a bait and switch. That's what it was. And I doubt whether you ruined their wedding because they tried to make the best.
I tried to make the best of her wedding. I reached out to her. I called her. I let her know what bus I was switching her out to, which I have the video here.
Bait and switch.
I understand you said it's a bait and switch. I get to the bottom of it, but I did kind of accommodate her when the situation, I offered her a refund.
You offered her a refund. She paid you $950. What did you offer her?
$950.
You offered her $950
Absolutely.
in cash.
Absolutely. The day when I switched her bus.
Just a second.
Then again, when we got there,
That's because that's not what I read. I read ride. You offered her the $950?
offered her $950.
That's what she's going to get, $950.
That's what the contract was.
Just a second. Did you?
And then when Antoine got there and she wasn't happy with that bus due to when I explained to her over the phone conversations that this 15 to 20 passengers, it
never
fits
said
20,
that.
but it fits tight. Different. So
You know, it's a hustle. What your website is a hustle. He is not a professional driver. He's a 20-year-old kid who couldn't even get to the right address,
Because she
who got there late.
sent the
No,
wrong
she didn't give you a wrong address to get to
did,
her wedding.
because I asked her for her information,
Okay.
and she sent it to me.
And you bait and switched her with a large bus, and at the end of the day, it's not easy to. Yes, you did. 950, judgment for the plaintiff. That's it. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I work for different companies. I am like a booking agent. She said I'm subcontracting, but I work with people that have these buses.
I think it went well.
We do have buses that's no longer available because those are not available anymore.
She didn't give us the proper bus. It didn't hold our wedding party, so a lot of people couldn't show up.
They didn't accommodate because she had big people.
It was very sad and heartbreaking. My kids couldn't be there, my brother.
We was there. We gave the service, even though it
Everyone had
wasn't
a
that
wonderful
bus.
time.
And they had
I
a wonderful
seen.
time. They played. They had fun on the bus.
So, I mean, we made the best that we could out of the situation.
When I accommodated to give her a refund the day of the event, she didn't want it. She wanted the bus.
Never will work with them again.
You know, I think I have a personal, as much as a judicial, negative sense of business people like this woman who clearly has a business that she operates out of her kitchen because she doesn't have any transportation vehicles. She will get a client from a website, and then she'll call around and see what vehicles from other companies are available. And then she has a nephew, maybe a son, maybe another nephew, maybe a gotcha. So, and she'll get a driver, because he said that he drives a school bus.
Yes.
I don't know why somebody would let him drive a school bus when he's 19 years old.
Issue for another day.
But that's for another day. But you don't realize when you do that, somebody spends a year planning a special day.
Of course. The business plan is all messed up from the jump.
Yeah.
I think when you are offering what you call a top-tier service and you don't actually own or have control over any of the assets necessary to run that business, then you're waiting for trouble because
you're waiting to disappoint people.
Exactly. It's all going to be a disappointment, but lucky for the defendant, she's never at fault. I couldn't get access, I couldn't this, I couldn't that. It's always a push-off. Yeah. And so for people like the plaintiff, make sure when you're interviewing companies that, number one, they own the assets that they're alleging, that they have full and complete control over those. So if they say there's a conflict, you know who to go after in that situation. So unfortunate, but the right thing happened.
Yeah, and she's married. And she says she's happy.
Case number 3042, Moore versus James. All parties, please step forward.
Dorothy Moore is suing her former friend, Jasmine James, for totaling her ATV dirt bike during a ride for peace.
Ms. Moore, it is basically your claim that the defendant owes you for a new ATV because she crashed one that she had borrowed from you.
That is correct.
What I gather is you have a group of mostly of women, all women, who ride motorcycles or ATVs together, and the nexus that keeps the group together are women who somehow have lost loved ones or friends to gun violence.
That is correct, too.
When did you start this group?
I started this group October 21st of 2021.
Why?
Because I moved to Cincinnati from Pennsylvania, my husband, due to gun violence. And I had no family in Cincinnati, so I started the group. I searched for ladies in Cincinnati who had been through the same thing, and I wanted to form a sisterhood with those ladies. I had 64 young ladies to come before me, and out that 64, 10 of them were true sisters.
And tell me what you did with this group of 10 women.
Well, I entered them in a lot of events in Cincinnati.
What kind of events?
Women empowerment parades, parades for kids to inspire them as well. They would like us to come and speak. We were in the Cincinnati Reds parade. I mean, anywhere we went, we encouraged a lot of women and young ladies.
When did Miss James join your group?
She joined my group October 15th of 2021.
As background, Miss James, can you tell me why you joined the group?
So me and all the ladies bonded on having lost family members to gun violence.
Did you have such a loss?
Yeah, it was a loss for the family, so it was something new to me.
And when you joined the plaintiff for these rides and parades, were you using your own vehicle?
Yes, ma'am, and some of them, but mine was damaged. So Miss Dorothy,
Was that the ATV that we're talking about here today?
Yes, ma'am.
So on what date did you borrow the ATV?
August 16th. That was our Ride for Peace.
How many women were involved?
Maybe 6 or 7 of us.
And you were riding through various communities. Did you have a sign? Did you have something identifying what you were doing?
We had bandanas, and we wore all the same colors.
Do you have any photographs for me to look at?
Several photos
I would like
of
to
the
see them.
group. I have the very first, second photo is a picture of me actually and Jazz together, and pictures of the group.
I don't see anything here that talks about gun violence in these pictures, by the way. DGRYDERS. What does that mean?
Dirty Girl Riders.
Dirty Girl Riders. Yeah, this doesn't say anything to me about gun violence. If I saw this group of women riding around in black leather in very exposed costumes without any identifying T-shirts, Mothers Against Gun Violence, something, I would think that it was just a bunch of bikers in leather. This looks like it's some sort of a heavy metal. Were you drinking that day?
No, ma'am. I would have been in trouble if I had been drinking, if liquor bottles was on the scene and they flew all over the place.
Well, you would have been in trouble unless someone picked them up before the police arrived, which is what they did.
Dorothy Moore claims her former friend, Jasmine James, drove her ATV dirt bike while drinking and crashed it into a pole.
Now, August 16th, you were riding her son's new ATV. Tell me what you observed, Miss Moore.
On that day, on August the 16th, we were riding down Reading Road. If I could come up and show.
Absolutely.
We were riding down Reading Road. We were coming southbound, so we were right here in this lane. And we was riding in a signal fine line coming down this way. And we were crossing over to go here. And Miss James was like I think the 4th or 5th person. I was in front. I led the pack. Miss James, she was the 3rd person and she was coming. There's a turning lane right here to go on to Paddock. Miss James wasn't in the turning lane. She was in the lane where she did an illegal turn and went this way and lost control of the bike and bang and hit the pole. On that day, I observed Miss James not acting like herself. She was driving on the side of me, jumping in front of me. One thing in the bike world, you don't jump on the side of a 3-wheeler. They ride signified line. Only 2 pair can ride together is 2 2-wheelers. We later found out Miss James had been drinking, so that explains why she was not acting like herself. We didn't find that out till after the accident.
That's not
How did you find that out, Miss Moore?
When Miss James hit the pole, she hit the impact so hard that everything she had on her shattered. So it was like 6 or 7 liquor bottles fell out her shirt. Her shoe went one way, and other stuff that she had.
What kind of liquor bottles?
Like small liquor bottles, like, you know, the party liquor bottles, you can buy them like for $1 in the store. They came out of her shirt. And
Did you see that?
yes, when she fell, she landed back and she paused for a moment. We all thought she was dead. We all started hollering and crying because we thought we had lost her. She didn't say anything. You know, we thought she was dead. And so we all ran up to her. And when we ran up to her, her whole leg was split open. It's Jazz. And she was still like this. That's when my other sister walked up to me and she said, look, look. And we looking at the liquor bottles all over the place. And so she quickly gathered them before we called the police.
Did you have insurance on the bike that you were riding?
I had full coverage on my bike, and I had liability coverage on the bike that Jazz was riding.
Why only liability coverage?
Because that's all that they offered me on that bike.
Oh, because your son was riding it.
Yeah, it was
How old is your son?
19 years old.
Okay, so they gave you liability, but not collision.
Correct.
Okay, your version of the events is somewhat different from hers, and I gather from what the plaintiff is saying and from your answer that you were seriously injured that day and was hospitalized.
I was.
Okay. Now I'd like you can go up to the board and tell me your version of how this unfortunate accident occurred?
We were coming down Reading Road. Me and Miss Dorothy were in the turning lane. Miss Dorothy actually jumped in front of me
That's not true.
and took a right without a turning signal. And it startled me, and I lost control and crashed. But we were here. I was in the right lane, and Dorothy was in the left lane.
Okay, it's clear. And when had you purchased it?
I purchased the ATV on April 21st, 2022.
How much?
$2,279.
Okay, now, when you were hospitalized, and since you tell me that this accident was caused by her negligence, did you contact a lawyer?
No, I did not.
Why not?
That was my sister, so I didn't expect to be sued.
Were you drinking that day?
No, ma'am.
What were the little liquor bottles that she was talking about?
I had possession of them, but I hadn't been drinking that day.
What were you doing with them on the ride?
They were in my purse.
What for?
I planned to later on, but I would have been in trouble if I had been drinking, if liquor bottles was on the scene and they flew all over the place.
Well, you would have been in trouble unless someone picked them up before the police arrived, which is what they did. Okay.
That's not true.
All right. Anything else?
I have a text message where Miss James texted me and stated that she was going to pay me back. And
I'd like to see it.
And also, when they put her in the ambulance, she said, "Press, don't worry about it. I'm going to pay you back for your bike. I'm going to pay you back for your bike," before they rode off with her. It's the
Can I
top
see them,
paragraph.
Judge?
Just a second.
Top paragraph.
Well, you talk about paying her back for her bike, which you fully intend to do.
I do, but I still on and half. She caused the crash.
Okay. 2279, judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much. We're done.
Thanks.
This court is adjourned.
I figured it would go that way.
Justice Porville, she was up there not telling the truth, and the judge saw right through it.
That's just the type of person she is. She wanted to be in front.
No, I am the president. I am the front of the pack.
I do remember the impact. Slow motion.
I thought she was dead. We all thought she was dead.
It'll be a while before I get on any wheels at all.
Look twice to save a life all day long.
The sun began to rise over the city of Detroit, casting a golden hue upon the brick buildings and the bustling streets that had seen so much history. It was the year 2022, a time of new beginnings and long-awaited celebrations. For Nidra Hunter, this year was not just another chapter in her life. It was the beginning of a lifelong journey. She was planning her wedding, an event that she envisioned to be filled with laughter, music, and the presence of everyone she held dear. By her side was a man who had captured her heart, a man who looked at her with a steady devotion that made every challenge of wedding planning seem worth the effort. In the month of March, 7 months before her scheduled date of October 8th, Nidra sat at her kitchen table with a notepad and a vision to be transported together. She imagined the joy of a party bus, a moving sanctuary of celebration where photographs could be taken, where stories could be shared, and where the transition from solemnity of the venue to the exuberance of the party would be seamless. It was this vision that led her to the internet, where she discovered a company that promised luxury and grandeur. The name itself felt like a match for her dreams. Luxury Queen and Mr. Party Bus. The woman behind this business was Tamika Young. Tamika had operated her company since 2017, positioning herself as a curator of transport for the most special moments in people's lives. To a client like Nidra, the Facebook page and the website were portals to a perfect day. There were videos of large, gleaming white buses that looked like they could hold a small village in comfort. There were promises of the best rates and professional service. However, beneath the digital surface of polished chrome and neon lights, the reality was a complex web of subcontracts and digital storefronts. Tamika did not own the fleet she advertised. She possessed no party buses registered in her company name, nor any in her personal name. She was a bridge between the seeker and the provider, a role that required a delicate balance of honesty and logistics, a balance that was about to march to the vibrant leaves of October. The communication between Nidra and Tamika seemed solid, but behind the scenes, the bus that Nidra had fallen in love with, the large one capable of holding 30 people, had been a phantom for some time. In fact, as early as March 12th, Tamika had informed other potential clients that the specific large bus was no longer available, offering instead a smaller vessel design for 15 to 20 passengers. Yet, Nida remained under the impression that her 30 guests would be accommodated in the spaciousness she had paid $950 for. The trouble began to surface only 12 days before the wedding. On September 26th, a conversation took place that shifted the tone of the celebration. There were whispers of mechanical difficulties, whispers that eventually transformed into a claim of an accident. When the big day finally arrived on October 8th, the reality pulled up to the curb in a shape much smaller than expected. Driving the vehicle was Antoine, a 20-year-old young man who was Tamika's nephew. Antoine was at the beginning of his own journey in the world of professional driving. While he would eventually earn a commercial license in January of 2023, on this October day, he held only a chauffeur's license. The afternoon was a whirlwind of emotions, and over the address of the hotel where the bridal party waited. Nidra, in her beautiful white gown, stood with her bridesmaids and family, feeling the ticking of the clock. When the bus finally arrived, the realization hit her it was too small. The 30 people who were supposed to ride in comfort were now faced with a choice of who would be left behind or how tightly they could squeeze together. In the rush and frustration, accidents happen. Nidra, trying to navigate the situation, suffered a fall. Her shoe flew one way, and for a terrifying moment, as she lay there, her friends and family feared the worst. It was a moment of silence that felt like an eternity, broken by the collective cries of those who loved her. Thankfully, Nidra was resilient. She stood up, brushed off the dust of the sidewalk, and determined that nothing, not even a bait-in switch or a cramped bus, would ruin the day she married a man she loved. They made the best of it. They danced on the small bus, they took their pictures, and they focused on the positive energy of their union. But once the honeymoon glow had settled into the steady light of daily life, the principle of the matter remained. A promise had been made, and a price had been paid for a service that was not delivered as described. This brought them to the courtroom of Judge Judy. The room was filled on one side, seeking the return of their $950. Tamika Young and Antoine stood on the other, defending their business practices. The judge, with her sharp eyes and decades of experience, saw through the layers of the subcontracting hustle. She questioned the registration of the buses, the timing of the commercial license, and the inconsistencies and excuses provided for the missing large bus. The judge spoke of the sanctity of a wedding day, a day that someone spends a year planning. She noted that when a business offers a top-tier service without owning the assets to guarantee it, they are simply waiting to disappoint people. It was a lesson in business ethics and the importance of accountability. The judgment was clear and swift. $950 for plaintiff. As Nidra and her husband left the courtroom, they did so not just with victory in hand, but with their happiness intact. They were married, they were together, and they had learned that while things may go wrong, the truth eventually finds its way to the light. The scene then shifted from the streets of Detroit to the community of Cincinnati, where another group of women was forging a different kind of bond. Dorothy Moore had moved to Cincinnati from Pensacola, Florida, carrying with her a heart that had been heavy with grief. She had been married for only 11 months, a city where she had no family. She chose to create one. On October 21st of 2021, she founded a sisterhood. She sought out women who had walked the same dark path of loss, women who understood the silence a house once filled with a loved one's voice. Out of 64 women who reached out, 10 formed the core of the Dirty Girl Riders. They were not just a group of women on all-terrain vehicles and dirt bikes. They were a movement. They rode for peace, they spoke at women's empowerment events, and they participated in parades to inspire the youth. They wore their leather and their bandanas not as a costume of rebellion, but as a uniform of strength. Among them was Jasmine James, who joined the group in October of 2021. Jasmine, too, had known the pain of losing family to violence. And for a long time, the two women were as close as sisters. On August 16th, the group organized a Ride for Peace. It was meant to be a day of visibility and community support. Jasmine's own vehicle was damaged at the time, so Dorothy, in the spirit of her sisterhood, allowed Jasmine to ride a new all-terrain vehicle that belonged to Dorothy's 19-year-old son. The vehicle had been purchased recently, in April of 2022, for the price of $2,279, one protected only by liability insurance because of the age of the primary rider. As the sun beat down on Reading Road, the line of riders moved in a single file, a synchronized display of focus and purpose. Dorothy led the pack, feeling the wind and the mission in her soul. Jasmine was a few positions behind. However, as they approached the turn onto Paddock, the rhythm was broken. There were conflicting accounts of what happened next. Dorothy observed Jasmine acting out a character, jumping in and out of the line, a dangerous maneuver in the world of three-wheelers. Then the crash happened. Jasmine lost control. The vehicle veered off its path, and it collided with a pole with a violent impact. The aftermath was a scene of chaos and fear. Jasmine was thrown back, and for a moment, her sisters thought she had been lost. Dorothy ran to her side, and it was in those frantic moments that small liquor bottles were seen scattered at the scene, having fallen from Jasmine's person. Jasmine was seriously injured and taken away in an ambulance. Before she left, in the haze of pain and adrenaline, she promised Dorothy that she would pay for the bike. She repeated this sentiment in a text message later, acknowledging her intent to make things right. However, as the medical bills mounted and the reality of the loss set in, the sisterhood was shared, suggesting that Dorothy had cut her off without a signal. The trust that had been built on shared tragedy was now being eroded by a different kind of conflict. They found themselves in the same courtroom that Nidra had occupied, but the stakes here felt more personal, more intertwined with their shared history. Judge Judy listened to the tales of the Dirty Girl Riders. She looked at the photographs of the women in their gear, and she questioned the nature of their mission versus the reality of that day. She focused on the promise made in the text message and the responsibility that comes with borrowing another person's property. The judge noted that while the group's mission was noble, the legal responsibility for the damage to the vehicle rested with the person who was operating it at the time of the crash. The judgment was rendered in the amount of $2,279 in favor of Dorothy Moore. It was a somber conclusion to a story that had begun with a search for sisterhood. As the parties left, the lessons remained. Friendship and sisterhood are precious, but they require a foundation of honesty and a willingness to take responsibility for one's actions. Dorothy remained committed to her group and her mission, holding on to the belief that peace is something one must ride for every single day. In both cases, the courtroom served as a place where the messy, complicated lives of people were brought into focus. For peace in Cincinnati, the pursuit of justice was about more than just money. It was about the value of a promise, the importance of integrity in business, and the enduring strength of the human spirit to move past disappointment and find happiness on the other side. The sun continued to shine over the cities, and life moved forward 1 mile at a time. The sun rose over the city of Detroit on the 8th of October in the year 2022, bringing with it the promise of a beautiful new beginning for Nidra Hunter. It was her wedding day, a date she had meticulously planned since March of that same year. Every detail had been considered, from the lace on her gown to flowers in her bouquet. Central to her vision was a grand celebration involving 30 of her closest friends and family members. She imagined them all together, laughing and sharing stories as they traveled from the ceremony to the park for photographs, and finally to the grand reception. To make this dream a reality, Nidra had sought out the services of a company that promised elegance and reliability. She found a business named Luxury Queen and Mr. Party Bus, owned by a woman named Tamika Young. The advertisements on social media and the company website showcased magnificent white vehicles that seemed perfect for a royal procession. Nidra reached out in March, and after seeing videos of a large bus, she paid $950 in full, believing she had secured the perfect transport for her wedding party. However, as the date drew closer, the polished image of the business began to crack. On the 26th of September, only a few weeks before the wedding, Tamika Young informed Nidra that there was a problem. She claimed the large bus had been in an accident or was experiencing mechanical difficulties. In the courtroom of Judge Judy Justice, the truth began to emerge through a cloud of excuses. The judge, with her characteristic wit and sharp eye for detail, questioned Tamika Young about the nature of her business. It was revealed that Luxury Queen did not actually own any buses. Not a single vehicle was registered in the company name or in the name of the owner. Instead, Tamika Young acted as a subcontractor, a middleman who took money from hopeful clients and then scrambled to find available vehicles from other companies. This practice, the judge noted, was a recipe for disappointment. In March, while promising Nidra the large bus, Tamika had already told another potential customer that the very same vehicle was no longer available. When the wedding day finally arrived, the bus that showed up was not the grand 30-passenger vessel Nidra had paid for. Instead, a much of 20 people, if they sat very close together. The driver was a young man named Antoine, who was Tamika's 20-year-old nephew. Not only was the bus too small, but it also arrived late because Antoine had the wrong address. He claimed he did not even know the starting location was a hotel. More concerning was the fact that Antoine did not possess a commercial driver license at the time of the wedding. His license to drive such vehicles was not issued until January of 2023, months after he had taken Nidra's wedding party onto the busy streets. Despite these hurdles, Nidra and her husband chose to focus on the love they shared. They stood before the judge, a picture of resilience and happiness. The judge looked at them and saw a couple who had made the best of a difficult situation. She turned her attention back to the defendant, Tamika Young, characterizing the business model as a hustle rather than a professional service. The judge ruled that this was a clear case of a bait-and-switch operation. She ordered Tamika Young to pay a judgment of $950 back to Nidra Hunter. As the couple left the courtroom, they carried with them the satisfaction of justice served, proving that honesty and integrity are the true foundations of any lasting union. The scene of justice shifted to a different kind of bond, one forged in the city of Cincinnati. Dorothy Moore had moved from Pensacola, Florida, to Ohio, carrying the heavy burden of loss. She had been married for only 11 months when she lost her husband to gun violence. Alone in a new city, she sought out other women who had experienced similar heartbreak. On the 21st of October in the year 2021, she founded a group known as the Dirty Girl Riders. What started as a search for companionship grew into a sisterhood of 64 women, with 10 core members who became as close as family. They rode motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles through the streets, not just for the thrill of the wind, but to empower women and inspire children in their community. They participated in parades, including the famous Cincinnati Reds Parade, wearing their colors with pride. Jasmine James had joined this group in October of 2021, finding solace among women who understood her grief. On the 16th of August, the group organized a ride for peace. Because Jasmine's own vehicle was damaged, Dorothy kindly allowed her to borrow a brand-new all-terrain vehicle that belonged to Dorothy's 19-year-old son. As the sun beat down on Reading Road, the group rode in a single-file line, a silent procession of strength. However, the peace of the afternoon was shattered near the intersection with Paddock Road, uncharacteristically, jumping out of the formation and riding erratically. As they approached the turn, Jasmine lost control of the vehicle and crashed violently into a pole. The impact was so severe that the other riders feared the worst. They rushed to her side, calling her name as she lay motionless. In the chaos of the moment, several small liquor bottles fell from Jasmine's clothing. Dorothy's sister quickly gathered them before the authorities arrived, hoping to protect their friend. Jasmine was rushed to the hospital with a serious leg injury. In the ambulance, she promised Dorothy that she would pay for the destroyed vehicle, a promise she later repeated in text messages. The all-terrain vehicle, purchased only months earlier for $2,279, was a total loss. In the courtroom, Jasmine argued that the accident was caused by Dorothy making a sudden turn without a signal, which startled her. She admitted to having the liquor bottles in her possession, but denied drinking that day. Judge Judy listened to both sides, weighing the history of their friendship against the facts of the incident. She observed that Dorothy, as the leader of the group, had no reason to cause such an accident. The judge looked at the evidence of the promise to pay and the circumstances of the crash. The core of the issue was responsibility and the high cost ruled in favor of Dorothy Moore, awarding her the full amount of $2,279. While the legal battle ended with a judgment, the underlying message was one of accountability and the importance of looking out for one another. Dorothy hoped to continue her mission of peace, while Jasmine faced a long road to recovery and a lesson in the weight of trust. In both cases, the courtroom served as a place where the truth was brought to light, ensuring that even when things go wrong, there's a path toward making them right again through fairness and human understanding. The values of honesty, the pursuit of justice, and the power of moving forward after a setback remained the true winners of the day. The air in the courtroom was heavy with the scent of old wood and the silent echoes of many disputes. But today, there was a different energy in the room. Judge Judy Justice sat behind the high bench, her eyes sharp and observant, looking down at the people who had come seeking a resolution to their grievances. The first case, number 3018, brought together two women from the city of Detroit whose lives had intersected over a dream of a perfect wedding day. Nidra Hunter stood on the side of the plaintiff, her expression a mix of lingering disappointment and a hope for fairness. Across from her was Tamika Young, the owner of a business with the grand name of Luxury Queen, of broken promises, and the chaotic reality behind a polished internet presence. The story began in the month of March, in the year 2022. Nidra was planning the most important day of her life, her wedding, which was set for October 8th of that same year. She had a vision of 30 of her closest guests traveling together, laughing and celebrating as they moved from the wedding venue to a park for photographs and then to the reception. It was meant to be a seamless experience of joy and togetherness. To make this vision a reality, Nidra searched the internet and found a Facebook page for Tamika Young's company. The page boasted the best rates for limousine services and showed videos of large, gleaming white buses that looked perfect for a grand celebration. One video in particular showed a spacious bus that seemed to accommodate exactly the number of people Nidra had in mind. In March, Nidra reached out and paid $950 to secure the service. However, as Judge Judy began to peel back the layers of the business, a different picture emerged. When the judge asked how many party buses were registered in the company name, Tamika Young had to admit the number was none. When asked how many were in her own personal name, the answer remained the same. It became clear that the business was not a fleet of luxury vehicles, but a subcontracting operation run from a kitchen table. Needs to see what was available. The judge discovered a troubling detail from March 12, 2022. Around the same time Nidra was booking her bus, Tamika had told another potential customer that the large white bus shown in her advertisements was no longer available. Despite this, she allowed Nidra to believe that she would have a 30-passenger bus for her wedding. As the wedding date approached, the plan began to crumble. On September 26, just a few weeks before the ceremony, Tamika informed Nidra that there was a problem. She claimed the bus had been in an accident or was experiencing mechanical difficulties. In the courtroom, the judge was quick to point out that an accident and a mechanical failure were not the same thing, and the inconsistency suggested a lack of transparency. On the day of the wedding, instead of the large luxury bus Nidra had paid for, a much smaller vehicle arrived. To make matters worse, the driver was Tamika's nephew, Antoine, a 20-year-old young man who did not possess a commercial driver license at the time. He arrived late, claiming he could not find a hotel, despite being a resident of the same city. Nidra and her guests tried to make the best of the situation. It was her wedding day, after all, and she was determined to be happy. She stood in the courtroom with her husband. She said yes, but the frustration remained. The smaller bus meant that the wedding party was cramped, and some guests could not even participate in the group travel. The judge concluded that this was a clear case of a bait and switch. Tamika had promised a service she did not have and substituted it with something inferior at the last minute. The judgment was made in favor of Nidra Hunter for the full amount of $950. As they left the bench, the lesson was clear. A business built on subcontracting without ownership is a business waiting to disappoint its customers. After the first case was adjourned, the court turned its attention to case number 3042. This matter involved a different kind of bond and a different kind of loss. Dorothy Moore was suing her former friend, Jasmine James, for the destruction of an all-terrain vehicle. Dorothy Moore was a woman who had turned her personal tragedy into a source of strength for others. Having lost her husband to gun violence shortly after moving to Cincinnati from Pensacola, Florida, she felt a profound sense of isolation. To combat this, she started a group called the Dirty Girl Riders in October of 2021. It was a sisterhood of women who had all lost loved ones to violence and found healing in the shared experience of riding motorcycles and all trades for children and events for women empowerment, wearing their colors with pride. Jasmine James had joined the group seeking that same sense of community. When Jasmine's own vehicle was damaged, Dorothy, in the spirit of sisterhood, allowed her to borrow an all-terrain vehicle that belonged to Dorothy's 19-year-old son. On August 16th, during a ride for peace to the communities of Cincinnati, the day took a dark turn. The group was riding down Reading Road in a disciplined line. Dorothy was leading the pack when she witnessed something terrifying in her rearview mirror. Jasmine, who was riding the borrowed vehicle, appeared to lose control. She made a turn that was not part of the planned route and crashed violently into a pole. The impact was devastating. The all-terrain vehicle, which Dorothy had purchased for $2,279 only a few months prior, was completely destroyed. But the physical damage to the machine was secondary to the fear for Jasmine's life. Dorothy and the other sisters rushed to the scene, thinking their friend had been killed. In the chaos of the accident, a troubling discovery was made. As Jasmine lay on the ground, several small liquor bottles fell from her clothing. Dorothy and another witness observed these bottles scattered on the pavement. It became apparent that violation of the trust and the safety of the group. In the courtroom, Jasmine tried to argue that Dorothy had caused the accident by turning unexpectedly, but the judge found this claim to be unsupported. The evidence of the liquor bottles and a text message Jasmine had sent later, promising to pay Dorothy back for the bike, pointed toward her responsibility. The judge reflected on the nature of the group. These women were riding for peace and to honor those they had lost. To have that mission compromised by reckless behavior was a deep disappointment. The judge ruled in favor of Dorothy Moore for the full price of the vehicle, $2,279. As the proceedings came to a close, the courtroom fell silent once more. Both cases had revealed the importance of accountability, whether in the world of business or within the circles of friendship. Nidra Hunter left with the money to compensate for her wedding day troubles, and Dorothy Moore left with the means to replace her son's vehicle, though the bridge of friendship had been burned. The judge stood up, her black robe billowing slightly as she moved toward her chambers. She had seen the best and worst of human intentions that day. She had seen the resilience of a bride and the strength of a widow, and she had ensured that, in the eyes of the law, justice was served. The participants walked out into the daylight, each carrying a lesson about the value. In the end, Nidra and her husband walked away hand in hand, focusing on their future together rather than the bus that never was. Dorothy Moore returned to her sisters, the Dirty Girl Riders, ready to continue their mission of peace and empowerment, riding forward with a renewed commitment to the bonds that truly matter. The echoes of the day's judgments remain in the room, a reminder that while things can be replaced and money can be refunded, integrity is the most valuable asset of all.